46 people found dead in the back of this stifling truck. The first call's coming in just before 6 p.m.
The truck driver is running southbound on foot along the railroad tracks.
Police say a local worker made the terrible discovery after hearing cries for help. Authorities found the abandoned semi-truck with its doors partially opened.
We're not supposed to open up a truck and see stacks of bodies in there.
Officials say the likely cause of death, heat stroke.
That death toll of 46 people has unfortunately increased to 50 people in what is now one of the most tragic immigration-related stories. Dozens of migrants were found dead inside of an abandoned tractor trailer. And this is what happens when people are incredibly desperate to flee the country they live in. They're seeking safety. They're trying to come to the United States simply for safety. And when you do away with legal means to seek asylum in a country like the United States, they're then prey for human smugglers who put them in incredibly dangerous situations, and it could lead to death. Now, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said the death toll had risen to 50. He said 22 of the dead were Mexican nationals, while 7 were from Guatemala and 2 from Honduras. The nationalities of the remaining 19 people had yet to be confirmed. Luckily, there are 3 suspects who are in custody. So in the video that we watched, it was noted that someone was running away from authorities. It appears that they have captured that individual, although there's no information about who the suspects are. Now, as we learned, they very likely died from heat stroke. It's incredibly hot, especially in places like San Antonio. And the truck was carrying 100 individuals. Monday's tragedy also comes as the number of migrants apprehended at the border have really spiked to record-breaking numbers. So for instance, according to CBP data, authorities encountered more than 1 million migrants along the southwest border since January. The number is over 6 times that of incidents recorded during the same period in 2020, and more than double the number in cases in 2019 before the coronavirus pandemic began. Also, the agency reported that at least 557 deaths have happened on the southwest border in a 12-month period before September 30th, representing more than double the 247 deaths reported in the year prior, and that's according to the AP. Most were related to heat exposure. So what are we gonna do about these human smugglers? What do we know about the human smugglers? Unfortunately, not much so far. The registration number, by the way, of the truck was found in San Antonio and traced to a vehicle belonging to a man named Felipe Betancourt, and he's based in the city of Alamo. But he wanted to make it abundantly clear that he is not guilty. He is not in any way involved in smuggling migrants into the country under these incredibly unsafe and deadly conditions. When contacted by the press, he said that the vehicle appeared to have been cloned. He said the operators of the truck found in San Antonio appeared to have duplicated his truck's registration numbers. He said he wanted his name cleared of the matter. Now, of course, any reasonable person who understands how the world works would see this story and obviously acknowledge the fact that these are migrants who put themselves in a dangerous position because they're desperate to flee to safety, especially in countries like Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. They're dealing with crime. In Mexico, they've been dealing with a cartel problem for quite some time now. And if you do away with legal means to immigrate to a country, to seek asylum in a country, which has absolutely happened in the United States, yes, even under Biden, well, again, they become prey for human smugglers. But it didn't take Republicans any time to immediately jump on this and politicize it to spread disinformation. In fact, Texas Governor Greg Abbott said, quote, "They are a result of his," meaning Biden's, "deadly open border policies. They show the deadly consequences of his refusal to enforce the law." Now, look, I know that Texas Governor Greg Abbott is incredibly stupid, okay? Can't really think things through logically. Doesn't mean that you should just buy what he says. Just think it through for a second, think it through. If the United States had an open border policy, why would migrants place themselves in incredibly unsafe conditions where they might die, where they have to deal with human smugglers, if the United States has an open border policy? Now, of course, it doesn't have an open border policy, even under the leadership of Joe Biden. In fact, he's deported quite a bit of people. From March of 2020 to February of 2022, for instance, 1.7 million expulsions have been carried out under Title 42. That was basically citing coronavirus for rejecting asylum seekers. 1.2 million of them, by the way, occurred under Biden's administration, according to a Migration Policy Institute report on government data. Cenk.
Okay, so there's the non-political and the political side of this story. For the non-political stuff, the reason why Betancourt doesn't want anything to do with this, and we have no idea, he might be telling the truth 100%, we don't know, is because the last two drivers that in similar situations in the last 20 years, one time 10 migrants died, another time 19 died. The drivers in both instances got life sentences. So there is actual justice. Now, of course, those drivers are not among the elites. That's why justice was served on them, and they should have gotten life sentences, okay? But you should go above their heads as well. That almost never happens, but that's why anyone associated with that truck is in a lot of trouble, okay? And they should be. All right, number two, in all those cases, I'm amazed at the lack of humanity of the driver. Okay, you're gonna run away, you're in a lot of trouble because something went wrong, obviously, right? Open the door, open the back door. What's wrong with you, you monster? There's kids in there, there's human beings in there. Open the goddamn door before you run away. Jesus Christ, there's 100 people in there. Okay, so now to the political side of it. There is no such thing as open border policy. There's no open border. It's just nothing but an absolute 100% provable lie. Every Republican politician says it. Every single one of them say it as if it's true. And no one ever, so you know Republicans are liars. That gets to now Democratic incompetence on two fronts. Number one, if you're doing Trump's policy and you want credit for it, then say it. Then say, hey, I deported 1.2 million people. If you don't want to do that policy, then don't do it. But just doing Trump's policy but getting blamed for open borders is just about the dumbest thing you can do. Really, I mean, you maxed out on dumb, and that's Joe Biden. Hey, here's a number of easy ideas. You know how much judges cost? Not that much in the scope of the US budget. I would 6x the number of judges. Why? You have to process people. What Trump wants to do is, hey, he wanted to put up a wall and literally snakes and gators and shoot people coming across. No, you don't do that. You process them in a fair justice system, but you need more judges, so send more judges and make a huge deal out of it. Do press conferences. Here's an army of judges going to make sure that we either send people back or we accept them if their asylum case is legitimate. And then when somebody runs away, you go catch them and make it that a spectacle, and you do a news conference about it. When there's someone who is seeking asylum and it turns out they really should have gotten asylum, you do another news conference and go, you see this? This is a person who needed asylum and we were decent and wonderful enough to give it to them. You highlight the things that you're actually doing. Anytime a Republican says open border, you go in and say, hey, that Republican right there, Greg Abbott, if Joe Biden said once in a press conference, Greg Abbott is a goddamn liar, direct quote if he said that, Greg Abbott is a goddamn liar, there is no open border policy, then the whole press would pay attention and then they would have to fact check and they would have to write, oh right, every Republican is a liar. There is no open border policy. Nope, shh. Instead, he sits in a cave. He has no policy for immigration, nothing. He has no policy for winning politically on this issue, nothing. Instead, he threw Kamala Harris at it. What does she have? Nothing. Useless Democrats.
And look, if we want to be generous to Biden, he did with immigration what he tends to do with every issue, including his own Build Back Better agenda. He'll put out a proposal, but then he doesn't really fight for it. And the federal courts actually blocked him from lifting Title 42, but it seems like he's just kind of dropped it after that. So Title 42 is still very much in place. And that is the problem here. When people are desperate to flee to safety, we could either do it the right way and have their case be heard before judges and go through the asylum process, or we could just put them in the hands of these smugglers who don't care about whether they live or die. And dozens of people, 50 people died as a result of this. And believe me, it is not because of an open border policy.